Hollywood has always had a smoky side that the cameras didn't show. From Disney legends to gritty rock stars, Tinseltown was a haven for world-class smokers. Some stars puffed for their roles, others couldn't quit even when doctors begged them to. This isn't just a list, it's a nicotine-fueled roller coaster through Hollywood's heaviest smokers. Warning, some survived the smoke, most didn't. Ready to cough your way through Hollywood history? Let's breathe in the truth. Before we dive into the details of our investigation, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a like. It really helps the channel grow. Audrey Hepburn, elegance in a cloud of smoke. Audrey Hepburn, Hollywood's icon of grace and style, had an unexpected habit. She smoked up to 3 packs a day with the same elegance she brought to the silver screen. She started smoking at just 15, and when fame hit, the pressure, paparazzi, and relentless expectations made Audrey light up to calm down. Whether filming Roman Holiday, Charade, or sipping morning coffee at Tiffany's, the cigarette wasn't just a prop, it was practically her scene partner. Fans adored her poise, but behind the scenes she was a nervous wreck wrapped in smoke. Unfortunately, the habit didn't stay just in the tabloids. At 62, Audrey started experiencing severe abdominal pain. Doctors discovered a rare form of abdominal cancer from the same family as colon cancer. And yes, smoking was a known culprit. For someone who embodied timeless beauty, her real-life battle with addiction adds a bittersweet layer to her legacy. Walt Disney, the magic behind the smoke. Think Walt Disney was all pixie dust and talking mice? Think again. Behind the cheerful castles and catchy tunes was a man who smoked to escape reality, one cigarette at a time. Walt Disney, the father of Mickey Mouse and the mastermind behind The Happiest Place on Earth, had a habit that definitely wasn't child-friendly: chain smoking. Walt lit up so often that he was rarely seen without a cigarette in hand, except, of course, at public events. Why? Because the image of the wholesome, family-friendly mogul didn't quite pair well with a cloud of nicotine. In fact, Disney executives went so far as to digitally erase cigarettes from his photos and banned any on-screen smoking in movies about him. Even Tom Hanks wasn't allowed to puff in Saving Mr. Banks, though Walt was known to smoke right in his office. But the magic couldn't outshine the damage. By the early 60s, Walt's health was fading fast. In 1966, he was diagnosed with lung cancer, underwent surgery to remove one lung, and received cobalt therapy. Sadly, his illness was too far gone. He passed away that same year at age 65. The official cause of death was circulatory collapse caused by cancer. Patrick Swayze, Dancing Through the Smoke. Patrick Swayze wasn't just the heartthrob who lifted Baby in Dirty Dancing. He was also lifting cigarettes to his lips at an alarming rate, burning through up to 60 a day like it was choreography. From Ghost to Point Break, Patrick delivered performances packed with passion and intensity. But off-screen, he battled more than just demanding roles. He was a heavy drinker, a relentless smoker, and someone who believed in spiritual guardians, but apparently not in nicotine patches. When diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in 2008, Patrick didn't immediately quit smoking. In fact, in a jaw-dropping interview with Barbara Walters, he admitted, "I'll go so far as to say probably smoking had something to do with it." You think, Patrick? He believed his late father and a team of guardian warriors were watching over him, but even they couldn't fight off the damage decades of tobacco had done. Despite his diagnosis, Patrick kept working, kept dancing, and yes, kept smoking. He passed away in 2009 at age 57. The world lost a Hollywood legend, and somewhere a cigarette probably burned itself out in silent tribute. Tallulah Bankhead, the diva who smoked 150 cigarettes a day. Tallulah Bankhead wasn't just a Hollywood star. She was a walking hurricane of scandal, sass, and 150 cigarettes a day. Yes, you read that right. That's not a typo. That's a full-on smoke alarm waiting to happen. With her deep, gravelly voice and no-filter attitude, Tallulah lit up Broadway, Hollywood, and every room she walked into, literally. Born into a powerful political family, she ditched politics for parties, gin, and a cigarette always dangling from her lips. Tallulah's smoky purr became her trademark. But it wasn't just genetics. It was years of chain smoking with a splash of bourbon for good measure. Tallulah's lifestyle was so wild that her doctors gave up. After surviving a near-fatal hysterectomy in 1933, she famously told her doctor, "Don't think this has taught me a lesson." Then she went right back to puffing away like the queen of chaos. However, her lungs weren't as rebellious. She developed chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and eventually died from double pneumonia at 66. Fittingly, her final years were just as dramatic as her on-screen roles, minus the director yelling "cut." David Janssen, the fugitive who couldn't escape his cigarettes. David Janssen was always running, from the law, from danger, from drama. As Dr. Richard Kimball in The Fugitive, he ran for justice. In real life, he was running straight into a cloud of cigarette smoke. 4 packs a day, no stunt double required. With that tough guy's swagger and gravelly voice, Janssen embodied the classic leading man. But that raspy charm wasn't all natural. It was forged in nicotine and filtered through decades of tobacco. On set, he was rarely seen without a cigarette. Off set, same story. Basically, if you saw David Janssen without smoke, you were probably dreaming. His relentless smoking eventually caught up with him. The strong voice became strained. Breathing got harder. His stamina was shot. Yet he pushed through roles like a champ until he couldn't. In 1980, at just 48 years old, David dropped dead of a massive heart attack in his Malibu home. It shocked Hollywood. He was still at the top of his game. An autopsy later revealed extensive damage to his lungs and arteries. Michael Landon, Little House, Big Clouds of Smoke. Michael Landon, America's beloved cowboy angel and all-around good guy, had a not-so-heavenly habit, smoking up to 4 packs of unfiltered cigarettes a day. Yep. While he was inspiring millions as Little Joe on Bonanza and spreading moral lessons on Highway to Heaven, he was also turning his lungs into a wildfire. Behind that perfectly tousled hair and pearly smile was a man practically fueled by nicotine and wild turkey bourbon. According to cast members, Landon's socks smelled like smoke because the cigarettes practically lived in them. He even earned the nickname Socks on set, not for fashion, but for his signature scent. Burnt tobacco and determination. Despite the coughing and wheezing, Landon kept rolling through take after take like a smoke-powered machine. But even he couldn't outrun the consequences. In 1991, doctors delivered a devastating blow: late-stage pancreatic cancer that had already spread to his liver and lymph nodes. In true Landon fashion, he joked, "I hope I don't lose my hair. People have been reviewing it for 35 years." But the laughter couldn't mask the reality. He died just a few months later at 54. Vivien Leigh, Gone with the Wind and 4 packs a day. Vivien Leigh wasn't just Scarlett O'Hara. She was the fire, the fury, and unfortunately, the fumes. Behind that timeless beauty and Oscar-winning talent was a chain-smoking habit so fierce it could rival a steam engine. On a typical filming day, up to 4 packs. That's right, she was basically a human chimney in heels. While audiences admired her elegance in Gone with the Wind and A Streetcar Named Desire, Vivien was quietly burning through cigarettes like scripts. The stress of fame, a troubled marriage to Laurence Olivier, and the pressures of stardom all fed her addiction. Smoking wasn't just a habit, it was her coping mechanism, her sidekick, her scene partner. But the consequences came fast and hard. In 1944, she collapsed during rehearsals and was later diagnosed with tuberculosis, a disease that really doesn't mix well with nonstop smoking. Add bipolar disorder and insomnia into the mix, and Vivien was juggling more than just roles. Even as her health crumbled, she kept lighting up, determined to fight her battles with lipstick and a lighter. In 1967, at just 53, she died suddenly from complications related to tuberculosis, worsened by her relentless smoking. Keith Richards, rock and roll and a cigarette for dessert. Keith Richards isn't just a rock legend. He's a living, riff-shredding, cigarette-smoking miracle. As the iconic guitarist of the Rolling Stones, Keith lit up stages around the world and lit up thousands of cigarettes while doing it. His signature look, a guitar in one hand, a smoke in the other, and a smirk that said, "Rules are for mortals." Keith started puffing young, and by the time he was rewriting music history, nicotine was basically one of his food groups. Mix in heroin, cocaine, hashish, and enough alcohol to drown a cruise ship, and you'd expect this guy to be 6 feet under by 1980. But not Keith. Somehow he kept rolling like a cigarette with legs. He's been arrested for drugs more times than most people go to the dentist. But when it came to smoking, he finally called it quits. In 2018, the rock god told Rolling Stone he'd given up cigarettes using nicotine patches. That's right. Keith Richards was taken down not by heroin or whiskey, but by science and adhesives. At over 80 and still breathing, he's become the punchline of every "this man should be dead" joke. Barbara Stanwyck, Hollywood's smoking gun in heels. Barbara Stanwyck wasn't just a screen legend. She was the definition of tough, classy, and unapologetically fierce. But beneath the glitz and grit of Double Indemnity and The Big Valley was a shocking secret. She'd been smoking since the age of 9. Yes, 9. While other kids were playing with jump ropes, Barbara was lighting up like a noir femme fatale in training. Her cigarettes were more than a habit. They were armor. Through personal tragedies, grueling shoots, and the pressure of being a woman in Golden Age Hollywood, she puffed with purpose. And with every drag, her voice got huskier, her stare sharper, and her on-screen presence more magnetic. But even legends aren't bulletproof. In 1982, while filming The Thornbirds, Barbara inhaled too much special effects smoke and contracted bronchitis. Combine that with decades of chain smoking, and her lungs decided they'd had enough. Breathing became a chore, roles became fewer, and even Barbara had to admit, maybe it was time to put the lighter down. She passed away in 1990 at age 82 from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and heart failure. Johnny Cash, the man in black in a cloud of smoke. Johnny Cash didn't just walk the line, he smoked it. The man in black with that deep, thunderous voice and rebel soul lit up more than just concert halls. He started smoking at 13 years old because apparently puberty wasn't dramatic enough. From backstage green rooms to prison tours, Johnny and his cigarettes were an inseparable duet. Between hits like Ring of Fire and Folsom Prison Blues, Cash was puffing through interviews, writing songs, and occasionally bribing police officers. True story, he once tried to get out of a pill bust with charm and a fistful of cash. His lifestyle was a whirlwind of nicotine, amphetamines, heartbreak, and iconic black outfits that probably smelled like a Marlboro factory. By the 1980s, it all started to catch up. He developed bronchitis, pneumonia, heart problems, and was diagnosed with Shia-Drager syndrome, later believed to be a diabetes-related condition. Surgeries piled up, knee, jaw, heart, and finally Cash did the unthinkable. He quit smoking, but decades of damage were already written in his bloodstream. In 2003, just 4 months after his beloved June Carter passed away, Johnny followed her, dying at 71. Redd Foxx, the funniest man alive until the smoke caught up. Redd Foxx was the comedy king of grit, sass, and one-liners so sharp they needed a warning label. Best known for his role as Fred Sanford in Sanford & Son, Foxx made America laugh with every fake heart attack and over-the-top groan. But behind the laughs was a real addiction to 4 to 5 packs of cigarettes a day, not including the stress smokes from battling the IRS. Born into poverty and raised on hustle, Foxx smoked like the rent was due and the ashtray was bottomless. He even appeared in Camel cigarette ads in the 60s because what's better than selling smokes when you already buy them by the crate? But comedy doesn't pay when the taxman's knocking. After multiple divorces and a $2.5 million debt, the IRS seized everything. His house, his cars, even his weapon stash. Yes, really. And through it all, he never gave up smoking. Not even close. In 1991, while filming The Royal Family, Foxx collapsed on set from a real heart attack. The crew thought he was acting. He wasn't. He was rushed to the hospital and died at 68. Charles Lane, the man who outlived his cigarettes, barely. Charles Lane was the ultimate grumpy old man on screen and apparently in real life. With over 350 film and TV credits, he perfected the role of cranky clerks, stern judges, and humorless bosses. But here's the twist. The real plot twist wasn't in his scripts. It was in his lungs. The man smoked a pack a day for 70 years. That's not a career. That's a marathon. Born in 1905, Charles Lane outlived almost everyone, including a lot of medical expectations. Even he once joked, "I must be the exception when talking about how smoking kills." And it's hard to argue with a guy who was still cracking jokes at 100. But the cigarettes eventually started cashing in their chips. By the 1990s, he was rushed to the hospital with serious breathing problems. When asked if he had quit, his deadpan reply was, "I gave it up 45 minutes ago." Legendary timing, Mr. Lane. Though he finally tossed the habit, probably because he couldn't walk 5 steps without wheezing, the damage was done. He lived to 102, making him both a walking miracle and a terrifying message to every anti-smoking campaign. The bottom line, answer to the opening riddle. Tallulah Bankhead smoked an incredible 150 cigarettes a day and lived to 66, becoming living proof that sometimes even the most extreme habits can instantly break the strongest spirits. Though her life ended prematurely, she left her mark as an unstoppable force of nature who refused to bow to rules, even biological ones. These stories remind us that even Hollywood's brightest stars were human beings with their own weaknesses and demons. Smoking took many talented artists in their prime, from elegant Audrey Hepburn to rebellious Johnny Cash. Some, like Keith Richards and Charles Lane, somehow survived decades of damage, becoming exceptions that prove the rule. Whether they were screen icons or rock gods, all these stars prove one painful truth. Talent and fame don't make us immune to the consequences of our choices. Their stories remain a powerful reminder for future generations about the price that even the most glamorous addiction can demand.